Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Mavericks After Dark, after mid-afternoon, more likely. This is Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe recording at just before 3 p.m. Following the Dallas Mavericks losing another inexplicable game to the Charlotte Hornets. They are now 3 games under 500, and it's gone from like on the edge of bleak to plummeting towards the abyss. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's over. Ahead. It's over. Like, there's no, like, how many times have we been saying, okay, well, it's not over yet. They could still do this. It's over. There's there's 7. I think there's 7 games left. They still play Philly, Miami, Atlanta, 3 straight on the road. They play tomorrow night, likely without Luka, in Indiana against a team that's already beaten them this year and presents a lot of matchup problems for them. Turns out almost every team presents a matchup problem for these Mavericks lately. So if you've still been hanging on, I mean, I've honestly, at least publicly facing, I've been trying to hang on there because the alternative is not as fun. But this felt. That first quarter felt about as much as I've seen a team kind of like give up on a season that I've seen in a long time. As from a team that had legitimate expectations, not like a bad team. We've seen bad teams give up all the time, but we didn't think this Mavericks team would be great, but we also didn't think they'd be bad, and they are verging into just a bad team.
Yeah, and I don't, I've been thinking about this. Like, we had a little bit of a delay between the end of the game and when we're recording. Yeah. And I'm just kind of sad. There's a lot of like heated, I get heated on these post-game shows, and I get, I'm emotionally all over the place during the live shows that I host a little later after you and I record, depending on kind of what the energy is of the person I'm talking with. But this just stinks, and it stinks in a way that's hard to convey because it feels like an extension of the worst parts of what we were worried about when they hired Jason Kidd. And I was told, I've not listened, I'm a little behind on my other Mav shows, but I was told for like the Locked On guys of all people, so Nick and Isaac, our friends, said that the Mavericks need to fire Jason Kidd after the Hornets loss. Which coming from them, I think really says something in the sense of, Nick and Isaac are sunny side up guys. They just both are. And to be at that point is really, it makes me feel bad because I don't like being right about this stuff. And, the vibes have been really bad since the Laker game. When you look back in hindsight, and obviously, this is not on Kidd entirely, but Kidd is the person who is the easiest to replace. And it's got like the stuff we've criticized for 2 years has really become a talking point where Kidd doesn't do anything on the sidelines and Dudley and Sweeney are. And when there's no life, you start to question the preparation of the team. And not to get into a bigger philosophical discussion, but like there was an interview given by one of Luka's older coaches. And like, I had some really fun back and forth with the overseas fans, where a lot of people are telling me Luka does want to be coached hard. I'm not necessarily interested in that debate at this point in time, but I will say that Luka probably does want to be coached, period. And I don't feel like that's happening.
Yeah. You talk about this is like the sum of all fears from the last 2 years. This is the sum of all fears from the last 4 years.
Oh, yeah. Going back to 2019, for sure.
Yeah. This is all the, when we entered this season, we were both like, they should, be hopeful that they're going to win 45 or more games and be a solid playoff team. But both of us, and I tried to repeat over and over again. I said, despite the fact that Luka can paper over a lot because he's that good,
just like Dirk,
you don't make that many mistakes in such a short, not like 10 years. Like we're talking like 3 to 4 years. The amount of mistakes that the organization has made in terms of roster building, you can't outrun that. Like it catches up to you. It didn't catch up to them last season. They had a miracle run. Nico Harrison made the right call at the right time to get Kristaps off the team, even if that looks kind of weird now.
But even that's unpacking a mistake.
Right. Yeah. So like, they got some breaks. They signed Reggie Bullock, who was like the best free agent they've signed in like 10 years, it feels like, since like Monte Ellis. Like and they had a great, run. And but again, it's just like you can't do what they did in 2019. You can't do what they did in 2020, wasting mid-level exceptions on Trey Burke and Willie Cauley-Stein, and you boof it on 2 out of 3 top 36 picks. And even
which
the one that you hit
worked out.
Right.
Yeah.
But even the guy that you hit, Josh Green, who everyone loves and still wants to play, like, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm still counting that as a loss when I'm looking at Desmond Bane and Tyrese Maxey. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they did okay, but like, it's still, if I'm marking it as a win or a loss, I'm marking it in the L column. I'm sorry. And it's just like that. And then 2021, they, was okay. And then you let Brunson go. Like, you just can't stack.
You can't make this many
mistake. It's gonna get
because it forces. And I was really talking about this on the timeline, my Twitter timeline yesterday. 2013, when they didn't sign Dwight Howard, started a real cascade of doubling down, where every year the Mavericks got a little worse and they bet a little bigger. And then what they ended up with was absolutely nothing in the cupboard. No draft picks, no assets, just old, tired players, and then players that were getting paid. Like Harrison Barnes was like tasked to lead the franchise, which
because someone had to take the money.
Someone had to take the money, and it's just, mistakes happen in sports. But where the niche you and I fill is to call bullshit. And the marketing job that's been done on this organization for the last 10 years is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. I work in politics, and I've never seen people turn around. Like every year it's like, oh, the Mavs are great. They lost Jalen Brunson's going to be fine. And, like, again, team building is hard. So I don't want to sit here and act like we know everything, because we don't. But it's when you get the hard part, you luck into Luka Doncic. And, even that was like the fact that they didn't want the guy on the Hawks and they wanted to send another draft pick just shows how little this organization fundamentally understood where team building was going. You watch the Warriors build through the draft. You watch the Celtics build through the draft, and the Mavericks just refused to do it. They wanted the easy way, the shortcut, the quick fix. And at a certain point, quick fixes stopped working. And, the last couple of, I'm really curious as to whether Kyrie and Luka can work. I don't think it's on them. Okay. Kyrie,
the numbers would say when they're on the floor, it's actually
So there's all this chitter. There's all this chatter about this sort of thing, and it's not on them. I mean, could Kyrie afford to hit a shot? Yeah, but we're gonna let a guy have a pass who's playing through foot pain. Okay, I wasn't a Kyrie super fan, as everybody heard the shows, but I'm not interested in making it about him like some of the weird stuff that happened on TMZ and Twitter yesterday. But this team has 2 good players, and that's kind of it. Everybody, the Jaden Hardy might be something one day. Josh Green might be something one day, but we've gotten 2 game reminders that Green is still young and still inexperienced. He's been bad. And then Hardy, for whatever reason, didn't get any run tonight, 13 minutes. And I feel very confused because the season's on the line to a degree, and the Mavericks just came out with no pop, no oomph. And that is an inexcusable thing for everybody involved. Now, it was really interesting to see Luka turn it on, but he picked up his 16th technical. He's going to miss the Pacer game. I'm just genuinely, I'm kind of at a loss for what to really talk about that hasn't been hashed to death.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
I'm defeated.
Yeah,
I'm defeated. I feel like how the Mavericks look.
But there's a weird, it's weird because we talk about get rich quick, and they honestly might, if they get a top 10 pick and they use it either they trade for a really good player, or if they make a pick in what's regarded as a really awesome draft, and you add a 19-year-old, you had a 19-year-old with all-star potential, which in this draft in the top 10, I think you could certainly make a case for a lot of guys that if they get that. It's just funny because this is a season from hell, but I'm looking at this roster and I'm looking at what they have going forward to trade and within their cap space. This is kind of the way out, isn't it? As bad as this sucks, and as much
and that's okay. That's a great pivot point, because what do they do from here? What they do from here and what they should do from here is pack it up. And, just give Hardy 35, 40 minutes a game, give Green 35, 40 minutes a game, play JaVale, don't tank. Players don't tank. That's the most important thing. We just watched this from Charlotte, but they need to, let Luka get his body right. He wants I'm pretty sure the World Cup is this summer, but I don't think World Cup stuff actually starts until August. Let Luka have an honest to God off season. Let him have his first real offseason since his rookie year. Let him get his mind right. Let him get his body right. Go play for Slovenia and come into next year really, really ready to go. Let Kyrie, his foot is concerning to him. He has said this. Let him heal. Sign him to a contract that he wants and you want, because you don't trade for a guy unless you intend to re-sign him. Sorry. I know there's Mavs fans that are oh, this can't work. Sorry, you don't give up a pick and do what you did unless you intend to re-sign him.
Right, you don't trade for it. Yeah.
Then
even if me and Kirk, we both have our concerns about him on a long-term deal, they made their bed.
Yeah, you deal with that down the road. If it becomes you don't sign a guy in anticipation of problems. You have to hope for the best. That's even what they did with Kristaps Porzingis. And then you go into the lottery and you hope. Understand the Dallas Mavericks have never moved up a single time in their history in the lottery. They've only fallen or stayed where they're supposed to be. So it's the pick conveys to the Knicks unless it's top 10. So that would be kind of the hope. You hope that you stay in 10th, because I don't really see them falling.
If they miss the play-in and they don't keep their pick this year, then what I'm talking about them get rich quick, and maybe this is the way.
Oh, it's over.
It's over.
At that point, you honestly this is gonna people have talked about this, but at that point, you honestly have to consider going and having a conversation with Luka Doncic and saying where can we do what's best for you.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about that part.
No, neither do I.
But and then it's I just keep thinking back to just the culmination of mistakes. You can't draft your second best. You can't hit on Jalen Brunson as a draft, because you look at all the contenders. That's what contenders do. They draft, the second best player on a lot of these teams. Unless you're the Lakers, you trade for him. You draft a core and you grow them together, and your two best players, typically on championship teams historically, are homegrown guys. Of course, there's exceptions like the Miami Heat and. But maybe the Milwaukee Bucks, but even Middleton, they didn't draft Middleton, but he certainly wasn't who he was when they acquired him. So they kind of developed him a bit for sure. But it's just hard. Like you can't lose your second best player for nothing. Go into the season not replacing him and expect things to be fine. And Kirk, we talked about on the last time we talked, I think in the live show, and I think you tweeted it last night. Like they went into this past off season not knowing why they had the success that they had. Like I just
yes. So can I talk about that for a minute?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Sorry
to cut you off. To what I said, and then I'll let Josh go. Is I said this: the Mavericks made it in conference finals by making a bet based on math that their 3-point shooting and their staunch perimeter defense would outpace the basically anything that teams could do to hurt them, scoring in the paint, rebounding, etc. They rode that all the way, and they rode some outlier shooting all the way to the Western Conference Finals, where they got beat by the Warriors, and that's okay. They came into the offseason talking about how they needed to improve their rebounding. Okay, I was okay with that on its face. And instead, they let Brunson walk, and they signed JaVale McGee, and they did nothing to actually improve. That's the thing that is really most upsetting. They did nothing to improve, and they got worse. And we were told, no, actually, guys, if you look at it, they got better. I went and reviewed our offseason pieces. I went and reviewed Dallas basketball's offseason pieces, and then like D Magazine and ESPN, and like everybody tried to talk themselves into this because Luka is that good. It was a bad bet by everyone involved. Okay, sorry.
It was, yeah. It's crazy to me that it's like, man, you look at what Dorian and Reggie Bullock did in the playoffs last summer. Well, not last summer, last year.
Yeah.
And you come into that offseason, like you would think after watching what those guys did and how that team played defense, you would think that the response would be, okay, let's get those guys some help. Let's either get some bench depth so that they're not playing 48 minutes or 44 minutes in a playoff game, or let's try to get a better, maybe we don't have the resources to get a better player, but let's try to make that depth better, because that's the formula. Is Luka with a good small ball, switching aggressive defensive lineup that's athletic and can get out and guard on the perimeter. We don't have big men, a great big man, but that's okay because we got to the Western Conference Finals. We got past Rudy Gobert. We got past DeAndre Ayton. Big men are important, but they're, you can get by without a great big man in the NBA right now. And instead, their two biggest offseason acquisitions were two big men that can't play defense. And it's like, and I understand that they thought one of them could, but that was just. I mean,
but that shit tells me is none of those people watched him play, including the Mavericks.
Yeah. So it's
he has never been a good defender. Ever.
No. He signed JaVale McGee to the biggest contract of his career at 34 years old. Like,
second biggest, but yeah.
Oh, second biggest. Yeah. I'm sorry. My bad. But yeah, it's just, that's the part. And, you watch Bullock and you see how like the tired legs it feels like he's been running on. And Dorian, before he got traded, by the way, like the defense was still pretty bad before he got traded here. And I'm just like, I just don't know how you just pivot to that. It's so funny because the org is, I mean, maybe it makes sense because the org is so focused on Twitter and caring what Twitter thinks. Maybe they read too many Dwight Powell sucks tweets.
Jeez, that was
for
weird.
the last
we
5
didn't even
years.
talk about that. They went back to one big. I forgot they did that.
Yeah. Like maybe that's it. Maybe they read too many like Dwight Powell sucks tweets, and they just got it in their head that they needed to they needed to upgrade their big rotation last summer, and then who cares if they don't replace Jim? Maybe that's it. I mean, they care about Twitter so much. I mean, I guess it makes sense. So
yeah.
And by the way, I know I defend Dwight Powell a lot, but he played 4 minutes.
Yeah,
0 points. Yeah, he had a bad game.
And I
We
don't
haven't
even
really talked about the game.
No, because what is there to say? Like Luka got hot in the second and really played a pretty good game the rest of the way after looking like he was like there was something seriously wrong in the first quarter. That's kind of the takeaway.
Yeah, it was the first quarter.
Yeah. They got crushed on the boards again. Not shocking. They just got like.
I mean, they didn't show up, and then they kind of showed up, and it was too late. The thing, if we want to talk about the game real quick, besides the embarrassing first quarter, where by the way, the angriest I've ever heard Mark Followell doing play-by-play since I've been listening to him for, Lord, I mean, is it almost 20 years? I've been listening to him call Mavericks games. It's by far the angriest I've ever heard him in the first half when the Hornets went up by 19 and had a wide open, just a fast break layup that went straight down the rim and no one contested. Everyone stood and watched. And I was kind of shocked because he's very even keeled. You know, he gets excited obviously for the good moments, but in terms of when things are going bad, he stays pretty even keeled through the rougher moments of a game. And I think that one just got to him naturally. Like, there's only so much you can take. But besides that, the thing that just astounds me and why I think the season is over is just, it was a 1-point game in the fourth quarter, and they've closed the game out the final 5 minutes with Luka, Kyrie, Reggie Bullock, Tim Hardaway Jr. And first it was Christian Wood, and then they subbed him out because he made a defensive mistake. And then it was Maxi Kleber. And it's like, those are the 5 guys, right? Like, no injuries. Like, you got your vets in, you got all the guys you want in. The lineup that we talked about when the trade was made, that this could be one of the best lineups that they could play. Obviously, it hasn't played a lot since Luke and Kyrie and Tim have been hurt. But still, I was like, okay, here it is. Like, this is one of the best lineups they should have all season. This Hornets team is terrible and trying to lose the game, it felt like, with the way they were defending. Like, come on, man. Like, you doubling Luka. Like, they were hoping the Mavericks would shoot threes, and I'm just like, this is all they do is shoot threes. Why are you giving up open threes? So, and then they still couldn't win. Like, that's when I kind of raised the white flag. I was like, if this lineup can't get it done against a Hornets team that feels like is trying to lose this game on purpose with the way they're guarding you, then yeah, it's over.
All right. So we got Pacers. Pacers, what day is that game on? Hopefully a while. Hopefully Tuesday. I don't want to do this again tomorrow. Nope, they play tomorrow. This is the last back-to-back. They're currently sitting on a 4-game skid. They're playing without Luka, but at least it's an early game, 6 p.m. start time, so that'll be fun.
Unless it gets rescinded.
Right. Well, I don't know if it will.
Yeah.
I mean, they usually have to have a good reason to not rescind. Then they play the Sixers and the Heat. I mean, this really could be an actual skid. I didn't believe it until I saw it.
Look at the schedule, Kirk. Where's the next win? Because they just lost 2 in a row to one of the worst teams in the league. Like, they might, like, the only game I think the only game they might be favored in for the rest of the season, unless some team sits some guys, is going to be San Antonio. Does it even matter? They had the highest favored of a game. They blew the biggest spread. That first Charlotte game, they were favored by like 16 and they lost. So nothing matters anymore. That's the best thing I can see.
Do you think they actually, like, just off the top of your head, gut reaction, do you think they move on from Kidd? My gut says absolutely not.
My gut says no, but I have to say I've been so 100% strong and nothing could happen for Kidd to get fired. I've wavered. Like, for the first time since he's been hired here, I've wavered in how much of a leash he actually does have. If they miss the play-in, I think that opens up the opportunity. If they squeak in, then who knows what happens. But missing the play, like finishing 11th in the West in a bad year in the West, I mean, I don't know. This is new for Cuban. Cuban's been on bad teams, but they've been when they're supposed to be bad. This is the first time I think he's ever been an owner of the team that's supposed to be a contender and not even make the playoffs. Like, this is new for him. So I don't
shit,
know how
this is new for us. I've never,
Yeah.
I mean, Doyle and some of the really longtime Mavs fans, we got guys that pop into the Spotify Live that are like 40-year fans. And I'm just like, I got one guy who's like, man, I watched the McClellan years and this is hard to do. And it is, it's hard to watch. I mean, I don't think you fire Kidd right now, but I also don't see how you can go into next season with him because they don't respond to him right now. Now, do they not respond to him because of him or because of the situation that they find themselves in? I mean, this is just such a weird thing. And it's like the one thing I've been thinking about, Matt Moore said this to me. He said, you do not fire your coach unless you know who your next head coach is. And that I don't have. Like, I'm very critical of this team, but I don't have an answer for him there. And
Cuban never fires coaches, so we're just not used to how he goes.
God, that guy pointing that out on the show the other night. He's only fired Avery. It's 23 years of this. Only fired one coach. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go do the live show, and then
I'll
my
have
son and I
fun.
are going to watch a Transformers movie because
cool.
explosions.
Well, you'll have more entertainment watching that than you did this game.
Well, I really wouldn't. I need to go. Like, I want to find time. You saw John Wick. I'm really jealous. Like,
it's so good.
Finding 3 hours to go see that is killing me.
I know. I know. It's a long movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk tomorrow night then. Everybody be good and go Mavs.